what we'd have to ask is, how frequent is that? So you get everybody who takes trips of any kind, be it mushrooms or acid, or and look at the body of their new thoughts that have come from them, for them having, when they credit it, okay? And Carl Sagan was a big pothead, okay? And highly productive scientist. So so the question is, does it give you some insight which when you were not under the influence, gets you closer to an objective reality? That's an interesting question.
Carl Sagan actually believed that there was, the way he described, what was his description, the way he described it? But he said he believed that there are thoughts that were only available that were when you were under the influence of marijuana.
That is certainly the case for any drug, right?
So but he felt like those thoughts were beneficial.
Well, I can ask, are those thoughts more connected to reality than if you were not so influenced?
But if
so I did an experiment with myself.
Okay.
When I first started writing in graduate school, I had a monthly column. I you know, there's that stereotype of Hemingway with a drink, you know, and they're writing, and that's their creative moment. I said, I don't really like hard liquor, but I like wine. So I said, let me get a bottle of wine and drink wine while I write. And I said, yeah, this is good, and I'm doing it. And then I did it without wine. This is an experiment I conducted on myself. And it was not as fun composing without the influence of just some, you know, a smooth, sort of low-level sort of wine buzz. But I looked at the two. There was no contest. My completely sober writing was vastly better than what I was writing under the influence of several glasses of wine, even though I believed it was really good.
But hold on a second. What kind of writing are you talking about? If you're talking about fiction?
No, prose.
Okay.
Prose.
But one of the greatest examples of fiction being enhanced rather by under the influence of drugs and chemicals is Stephen King. If you go and read Stephen King's early work versus the stuff after he got sober, and I'm a gigantic Stephen King fan.
Was it just alcohol in his case, or were there other drugs? Oh, other drugs too.
A lot of cocaine, a lot of alcohol, cigarettes, a lot of cigarettes. It was way better. It's vastly superior, darker, deeper, stranger, more bizarre, more shocking.
In the day, you're saying?
In the day.
Yeah,
read it today. Read Carrie
No,
today.
I meant you're saying what he created in the day under that influence was way...
the stuff under the influence, the stuff he created
Carrie
under the
is
influence.
deeply dark.
It's
oh my
so
gosh.
dark.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dark.
Wait, so when was Shawshank?
Pet Cemetery, almost all
when was
of them.
Shawshank Redemption? Was that...
I think all of them were when he was fucked up. He wrote some good stuff after he was fucked up, but like Cujo, he doesn't even remember writing it. And
okay,
it's fantastic.
So is this something you would recommend for creative people?
I recommend it, Stephen King. Get back on coke, sir. Stay off Twitter. Get back on coke. I'm kidding.
So one little experiment with glasses of wine.
Yeah, that's not enough. That experiment's not enough. Like I personally feel that under the influence of marijuana, I come up with some of my best ideas for comedy. For stand-up comedy writing. I do the George Carlin
I hear you got a new show
method.
ready to drop. I'm looking forward to that. I love your work, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I do the George Carlin method. I write sober, and then I punch it up high.
Okay.
And sometimes
as
I just
opposed
write
to the
high.
opposite. Yeah, interesting.
Well, George Carlin had a great point. He's like, you should write about things that you're thinking about and things that are like important or things that are on your mind, and then he would like let it sit, and then he would smoke pot and go back to it, and then he would come up all the funny, all the ridiculous aspects of it, and he would interject them into there. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, to the extent I'd like to know how reliable that is.
Well, here's the other point that I should say. There's many people that don't do any drugs that write fantastic stuff. And there's many comedians that are completely clean and sober that have done their best work once they got clean and sober. That's true, too. Both those things are true.
Right.
But I think they're tools.
And we lost some comedians. Mitch Hedberg, for example, one of my favorites.
Mitch was genius, but he was
really
very,
loved
and
his
he
stuff.
had a really bad drug. His injectable heroin was his thing, which is one of the worst. But the point is, it's like they're tools. And I used to have a joke about it, like that marijuana is like any other tool. It's like a hammer. You could build a house with a hammer, or you could hit yourself in the dick if you're fucking crazy. And that's the problem with all sorts of things. They need to be managed responsibly, and people need to understand what the effects are, what the dosage is, and that's where science comes in.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I still have some writing projects that I'm going to finish.
Take mushrooms?
No. When I'm done with what I know I wanted to write before I died,
okay,
then I will consider this.
Then come to Daddy.
I'll come to Papa. I'll come to Papa.
We'll hook
and
you
then
up.
I'll see if some new creative thing comes out of me at that time.
Well, I don't know if new creative things will come out of you, but I think
I already got stuff.
Thoughts will come out that probably wouldn't exist without them. And when you're talking about like really breakthrough psychedelic moments like DMT or mushrooms, psilocybin, one of the really fascinating things is they mimic neurochemistry. Like DMT is in the brain, and it's in all the organs, and it's a part of natural human neurochemistry.
Well, except of course, so is fentanyl. So
fentanyl is a part of the
no,
human neurochemistry.
You have receptors for it. So
right, but DMT is produced by the human body. It's actually a thing that the body makes,
right.
and we don't know why.
Right.
And the really heavy-duty psychedelic people think that in large doses, when you take it and have these breakthrough experiences, what you're doing is you're going through some sort of chemical portal. And this chemical portal is only available to people in these near-death experiences under extreme moments of stress, where they have like these moments where they go through the tunnel and the bright light and they meet God.
I mean, how many of these would I have to see to be convinced that it's a reliable consequence of it?
Do it.
Yeah,
I think it's what this conversation is like talking to a person who's lived in an underground tunnel their whole life, who's dismissing sunlight. They're like, what's the big deal with sunlight? I'm fine down here with light bulbs and you and your sunlight. Oh, yeah, photosynthesis. Woo-hoo. I've got hydroponics.
So you're being a very effective drug pusher.
But the drugs that I'm interested in are not dangerous. They're not ones that kill you. Like, I've never done cocaine. I've never done heroin. I've never done amphetamines. I'm not interested in those.
Does cocaine kill you? That doesn't kill you.
It can.
It can if you're rich enough.
Well, it certainly can kill you today because so much of it is laced with fentanyl.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the number one killers of young people, unfortunately, is fentanyl contamination of drugs. But I'm interested in pharmacology. I'm interested in what happens to the mind when it's under the influence of different substances.
Yeah, I guess I'm less interested because I have to think more about what you said. But look at how people misinterpret reality when they're not on anything.